Paul Finebaum, ESPN college football analyst. He joins us on the program. What is going on? Where do you want to start, Austin or Tuscaloosa?
Well, I think, Dan, everyone aspires not to be a great coach, but to have a great agent. And I think Nick Saban has hit the lottery on this one. You lose a game, and you end the dream of a three-peat, and the next thing you know, you're going to Texas. Although you can't scoff at this. I think there are some people in Nick Saban's camp who want him to go to Texas. I don't think Nick Saban wants to go, and that's really where we are right now.
But, okay, explain why they would want him to go.
Well, not to dump on an agent, but if Jimmy Sexton moves Nick Saban to Austin, then he can move another one of his guys into the spot in Tuscaloosa, Kirby Smart, and he can also sign the biggest deal in college football history. Now, I don't know why you can't do that in Tuscaloosa. I think you can, but this is a silly season, and the fact that Mac's situation is taking a long time and dragging out, I think, is escalating the speculation in Tuscaloosa to DEFCON 4.
Is there a contract on the table for Nick Saban at Alabama?
There is, but also remember he signed an extension in March. So this is a new contract for even more money. It's kind of like one of your deals, Dan. Does it make any sense? No, but it's the way things roll in Roll Tide land.
All right. Is there an offer that's been presented to Nick Saban's agent from Texas?
I don't think so, but there's no doubt conversations have gone on, and we know that they went on as far back as January when they were trying to push Mac Brown out the first time. I think if Mac had already stepped down, this thing could reach at least a position where Nick could have the conversation with Texas. But right now, Mac, I don't think Nick's going to talk to Texas as long as Mac Brown is the coach. They are friends after all.
Okay, when does Mac step down?
I think it will be Thursday or Friday based on everything that I can ascertain, which isn't easy. And then I think, do I think Nick Saban, at least, or his agent will say, okay, what do you guys in the cowboy hats have to say? Probably just to satisfy Jimmy Sexton. But I'm a broken record. I jokingly said a couple weeks ago I'd stake my entire career on Saban staying in Alabama. Then people reminded me I really don't have that great of a career to stake.
If they don't get Saban at Texas, then what?
Well, then I think it's open season. I've seen every name under the sun. Kirk Herbstreit even mentioned Jim Harbaugh today and Jim Moore. I don't know if that makes any sense, but let's be honest. This is a great job. They do have a lot of money in Texas. They have great facilities. For whatever reason, Mac Brown, even at the same age as Nick Saban, has not been able to get it done. And some of the reason is because of what's around him. Art Briles, another possible candidate at Baylor, the Oklahoma State situation. So you've had a lot of competition there in a league that we don't think of as being an elite league in comparison to the SEC.
Yeah, I think the Big 12 was quietly great this year, and people in the SEC might begrudgingly admit to that. And I don't think there's any guarantee that Saban goes to Texas, all of a sudden they reestablish themselves as the power that they once were. I think the Big 12 is, we've seen some great stories there, and the schools that the SEC inherited from the Big 12, they were middle of the pack programs in the Big 12.
Well, Dan, if you saw the SEC championship game, I thought I was seeing a Big 12 championship game from a couple of years ago, but they don't have one anymore. That was not the good old Pat Dye, Gene Stallings, Bear Bryant defense. It was insane. It's 59, I think, to 42. But I will say that the main reason I don't think Saban would go there is Texas is not like Alabama. Saban has absolute power. He answers to no one other than his wife. At Texas, there's 15 or 20 guys who give $1 million or $2 million or $10 million or even more who think they can go play golf with Saban, have a beer and go to a Willie Nelson concert. And Nick Saban doesn't want any part of that anywhere, especially in a place where he's not comfortable and doesn't know the territory.
If we talk on Monday, what's happened?
I'm not sure it will be resolved. And I say this because, Nick Saban is Bill Belichick, as you know, and he's out recruiting right now, and he does not want to be bothered when he's recruiting. Now, he's recruiting for Alabama today. I think the Mac situation plays out by the end of the week. I think by Monday it's coming to an end because the people in Tuscaloosa, I don't think, can last that long. But I think somewhere a little north of Monday this will be resolved. I'll go ahead and gamble well, why not? I mean, I gambled a couple of years ago that South Carolina had no shot against Alabama on your show, and Steve Spurrier rubbed it in right after the game. So I'm going to say that Texas has no shot at getting Nick Saban. I think we'll know by this time next week, maybe not by Monday.
What did Spurrier say to you that when he heard you say that South Carolina had no chance against Alabama? How'd that conversation go?
He said, "Hey, that was a great prediction." I looked at him. He said, "Yeah, I heard it on Dan Patrick's show." I go, "Oh, okay." And I think Darius Rucker rubbed it in too. I know that's one of your buddies. And
yeah,
I've come over to be a fan only because of that.
Who should finish? Who will finish second in the Heisman race?
Well, I think Trey Mason will finish second, and I think he should. I mean, I know he's Johnny-come-lately. He wasn't on any of those preseason Heisman ballots. Dan, have one of your worker bees look up the last 4 or 5 years. The preseason favorite for the Heisman is nowhere to be found. I mean, this is the hardest award, I think, of any, including the national championship, to predict, because Braxton Miller and all the other ones who were up there, including Jadeveon Clowney, are now nowhere to be found.
Yeah, but I didn't factor those guys in to begin with. The whole Jadeveon Clowney, people base that on one tackle, and I said, these are people who didn't do their homework. If you watched him play, there's brilliance, but then he disappears in games. And Braxton Miller, had he stayed healthy, would have gotten a lot more consideration. Sure. And I do think that the Heisman is usually it's a November award. I don't care what happens in September and October because, at this time in October last year, Geno Smith was the odds-on favorite. So I think you see that guy emerging in week 7, week 8, and maybe that was the case this year. We just didn't keep an eye on Trey Mason at Auburn like we should have.
I will say this about Jameis Winston. We may not have heard much about him before the season, but on Labor Day night, we heard a lot about him. And so we knew then he was going to be a contender. It just took a while.
Well, enjoy the postseason there and the fallout with both of these stories there. Paul, great to have you back on the show, bud.
Dan, it was my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Well, Paul Finebaum, ESPN college football analyst.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.